In this episode, I sit down with Jessica Russo-Sherr, a fine artist known for her gel print image transfers and using reverse painting techniques. We talked about the importance of community and a new book on gel printing she has coming out soon. Hi, my name is Cindy Jones-Lantier, and I'm the host of Beyond the Brayer. I'm a longtime gel printer and the owner and admin of the popular Gel Print Enthusiast group on Facebook. Before we get into this episode, I want to remind you, if you are into gel printing, I would love it if you join us in the Gel Print Enthusiast group. Just look for us on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, please follow Beyond the Brayer on Instagram to keep up with the podcast and more. So now, let's meet Jessica. Jessica Russo-Sherr is an American artist and educator based in Germany. She transforms photographs into richly layered prints, combining technical precision with creative experimentation. With a background in fine arts and years of teaching experience, Jessica has developed a process-driven approach that invites play, risk-taking, and curiosity. Her gel plate printmaking practice explores the intersection of photography, painting, and printmaking, where each layer tells a story. Known for her image transfer techniques and use of color, she helps students build confidence while embracing the unpredictable nature of the medium. Whether it is through her online gel print courses, teaching at the Frankfurt International School, or writing her book on gel printing, Jessica shares her deep love for the process, offering a welcoming space for artists of all levels to explore, experiment, and connect. Jessica's goal is always the same: to empower others to trust their instincts and enjoy the beautiful mess of making art. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Can you tell us a little bit more about your creative background? So you have a background in fine arts. Where did you study and all that good stuff?
Well, I got my undergrad from Hartford Art School at University of Hartford, and then I went on to get a few master's degrees. I joke around with my students that I have enough degrees that I could be called a doctor, but it's not in a doctoral field. So I like school. That is an understatement. My last degree was from Boston University. So I attended 3 post-grad schools, and it's really laid the foundation for what I like to do with my artwork and with education.
I have to know, why is your studio called Blue Lava Art?
That goes back to, I think it was 1999 when I was creating my first website, which is still my current website, bluelavaart.com. And I think we've all been in this place where you're choosing like an email address or a website address, and you're trying what's available. And I tried my name, and my name didn't have Scherr on at the time, and I didn't, it was at a time when people didn't always use their full names and like website addresses. So, but I was trying a few different combinations and nothing was working. And the artwork that was hanging above my computer was a self-portrait that I did that actually, strangely enough, had an image transfer in it, not from a gel plate, but from old school gel medium image transfer. And it had lava sand from Costa Rica. My mom was living there at the time, and it was all in blue. So the title of that was Blue Lava. So I was like, Blue Lava. And I wanted everyone to know that it was about art. And it was one of those things that I didn't know I would keep, but people remembered it. And so here we are 26 years later, and I still have that as my company name and my website.
I knew there had to be a story behind that. So how did you end up in Germany, Jessica?
Well, I originally left the US in 2007 when I received a Fulbright grant for my work in art education. And I was sent to Bratislava, Slovakia to teach at an all art school for a year. And the goal was that I was going to teach there, be an ambassador, and then I would go back to the US and continue my job teaching. At that point, I was teaching at a school in northern New Jersey in the suburbs of New York City at a fantastic place, but things didn't work out where I didn't go back because I knew right away I Fell in love with living in Europe, and I started applying for jobs in the international school realm. And I then, from Bratislava, I moved to Florence, Italy, and I lived there for about 9 years teaching at the International School of Florence. And then my family picked up and we went to Germany because we had a wonderful opportunity. Frankfurt International School is one of the leading international schools in the world. And my art studio has 7 faucets in 5 sinks. It's beautiful. Once I was given that opportunity, I couldn't pass it up. And so this is, I just completed my 8th year here.
Nice, nice. So now let's talk about gel printing. How did you get into gel printing?
Well, one of my colleagues shared at a similar time that I started seeing some videos online on social media of magazine image transfers and a few laser print image transfers. And I was like, that sounds really cool. I teach a printmaking class. So, and the class I teach printmaking in a lot of my classes, but I teach a solely like all printmaking class, and it's for 8th grade students. And I was like, 8th graders are going to love this. So I immediately went to the store, bought a gel plate, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And it was a disaster, a complete disaster. As most of us know who have done gel printing, the first time you print, it all goes wrong.
It does.
Yeah, and I went in with the audacity of someone who teaches printmaking, who knows how to use a brayer and all. I live with art supplies around me all the time. I didn't understand why I wasn't getting it. But that was really my first introduction. And then the determination to make sure that I could do this and I could teach it. I just pushed myself really, really hard, really fast.
I tell people if they want to get into gel printing, go buy a ream of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make a decision till you're through with that ream because it'll take you that long to find your groove and
Exactly.
how long to let the paper sit and
No, it's really the amount of comments or DMs or messages I get from people where they're like, well, that didn't work. I tried it and it didn't work. I'm like, did you try it 30 times? You have to try it. You have to try it a lot because it's not that it's that complicated, but there's all these small variables. And if you have any one of those small variables off, or the humidity is different that day, or I don't know, the paint gods are not looking down on you that day, things work differently. And you just have to be patient and tweak those small things until you understand, like, oh, I've been putting too much paint on my plate, or I need to edit my photo this way, or I need to buy a dehumidifier for my studio.
you are very well known for your complex prints using image transfers and reverse painting. How did you get into this niche and what do you love about it?
Well, I think immediately I tried the magazine thing and I liked, but the lack of connection I had to the images in the magazines was
Mhm.
it didn't fuel my passion. And I do a lot of photography. Photography is a big part of my art. My photography has influenced my art in I'm primarily a painter. I do a lot of oil painting, and that's been fueling what I create in my artwork. And it just seemed natural to use my own photographs. I had an art exhibition in Florence, must have been like around 2013 or so. Uh, and it was absolutely like telling the title that the curator gave the show. It was called Layers. And it really helps to describe the common themes throughout all of my artwork. It tends to be metaphorical layers, physical layers, all of these layers of color, layers of images, and those kind of things came together. And I knew as soon as I started doing the gel printing using my photos, I was like, this ties in. It may not look like it ties in right now, but it's going to tie in more as I work on it. I just have to get to that point. And so for a while, it was kind of like I saw the connection, but other people in like exhibitions, it was harder to see some of the connections. And then it just started to merged together.
Besides gel printing and photography, and you say you oil paint, what's your favorite medium besides gel printing?
Oh, I think it would probably be oil painting. I do a lot of collage. Collage is a big part of the work that I've done in the past. And I kind of think of collage in a similar way that I think of painting, except that the paint has dried and I'm just putting it where it needs to go. And so I do love that. But I think oil painting is probably my favorite because it's a slower process and I can get lost in it. Whereas gel printing, I love the immediacy of it. I love it like I have 20 minutes, let's see what I can do. And whoa, look, my a good friend of mine is moving to Malaysia, and I saw them for the last time last night. I wanted to give them one last little thing, but I knew they had packed up already. So I quickly did a gel print of an iconic building in the town that they live in. And literally, I started it probably uh, 10 minutes before I had to get ready. So I did the image transfer and then I went and quick got ready. So that was like 15 minutes, got my kids ready, came back and I was like, all right, go in the car. I just have to pull up the print. And I love that I could do something like that that was still special and, particular for them, but it could be so much faster than, okay, let me stretch the canvas, prime the canvas, do the underpainting, sketch it out, do the, all of that is months. I'm working on this very, very large painting right now, oil painting, and I've been working on it for a year and a half. It's, I do love the fact that it can last that long, but sometimes it's nice to have that balance.
Yeah, oil painting is a commitment.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think you just try it and see how you like it, and after 20 minutes go, it's not for me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I mentioned in your introduction that you've written a book about gel printing. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. It hasn't been released yet. I just finished the manuscript and went through the whole editing process. So this will probably be like the first announcement of it, really. I've like mentioned it briefly a few times, but not like actually talked about it. So it's teamed up with Gelli Arts, and it's the Gelli Arts Printmakers Handbook. And I go through from beginning to end how to do printmaking with the gel plate in a fine art sort of way. So it's looking at all of the aspects that you can sort of level up your skills from learning the basics. But if you want to create things that are frame worthy and how to do that and how to troubleshoot all of the image transfer issues while you're doing that as well.
Exciting. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out in November. So it's been I knew I would enjoy writing a book or like have some interest in it. I did not realize how much I would enjoy writing the book. And when I was told, the length, it's about 30,000 words, and I have about 350 photos of me creating in there of my artwork. When I was looking at the numbers behind it, I was like, oh, that's a lot. I could have probably written 63,000. There was just so many things that I wanted to say that I wanted to bring forth that it can help people because as it's really important for me as an artist to explain as an art teacher to break down and explain things so that they're accessible, they're understandable, and I'm not just talking to people who have a lot of experience with this, but I'm talking to people who are both have the experience, but all are also beginners. So I'm trying to address all people at all levels like I do in my classroom.
Like I said, I cannot wait. It sounds like 30,000 words and 300 photographs. That's a substantial book.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
just a little pamphlet or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So, where do you find your inspiration for your prints? I know from your photography, but just for art in general, for your oil paintings.
So I am a mother of two lovely girls, and being a mother and being a mother in other countries than my own culture, and my husband's Danish. So we're constantly in like a third culture, and we do travel a lot. And those combinations of things, of experience place and being an outsider in places, has always been something that influences our day to day, what happens in our lives. And those expectations that you have in life, or expectations that other people have for you in life, that influences my work a little bit more, my painting than my gel printing. But certainly a sense of place influences my gel printing. How do we connect with places? How do they represent who we are? How see the world, and what is our connection to those things? And that's really what drives me, is trying to understand that sense of place.
I saw your Waffle House video.
Yes.
Just loved it. Didn't work at a Waffle House, but I traveled in the South. I'm from the South, so I traveled a lot in the South when I was growing up. So Waffle House it was. So, that it has a special meaning for me. And you just did a beautiful job with the copper leafing and
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the Waffle House iconography appears in my gel printing and my oil painting, some collages as well. For those who don't know, I worked full time in at a Waffle House when I was in high school from age 16 to almost 18. And it was at a truck stop Waffle House, and I was the only one there who had teeth and who worked there. I mean, some of the customers had teeth, certainly, but it was really learning that life through. I was thrown right in on the job training. Being a 16-year-old girl, it was tough, but it was an experience that I wouldn't change for anything, because one, it taught me how to teach much better than I could have ever imagined. That, and my other experience waitressing, because you have to be able to attend to your customers, your students. You need to know like ketchup, and you need this, and you need that, and you need that. And that's all that being an art teacher is like, oh, you need more of this. I'll be over there. Okay, order up on that, and that was definitely that helped me with that sort of multitasking that was needed. But I think it's also important to recognize those hard times in your life and the positive things that they bring to you, or to recognize like how far you've come from some of those positive things. And yeah, when I still love going to Waffle House when I go back to the States.
are there any techniques or tools in gel printing that you found tricky to master?
I think sometimes it's some of the basics. If there's so many wonderful gel print artists out there who do beautiful things with stencils and textures and things like that. And that's not so much my thing. I can teach about it, I can understand how it works, but it's not really what drives my work. So I haven't played enough in that field to really love doing it. And I'm always like, no, I want to do this. I want to go on to the reverse painting. I want to do that. And I like working with the paint with dry layers rather than wet layers. So it's not so much that it's difficult, it's just that's not where my inspiration kind of goes to. But I always appreciate, I love when I'm looking at other artists online, and they're like the colors that they use and the combination of layers and their use of positive and negative space. And I think it's beautiful.
One of the things I love about gel printing is I cannot draw an engaging stick figure. I mean, really. But I love because I still get to be creative. I get to play with color. I get paint on my hands. I get to do artistic things. And I think it's a wonderful medium, especially for people who feel like they don't have any creativity, for them to get to explore and to learn about the technique, because part of it is very technical and part of it is very creative.
Yeah, I think you summed that up in the introduction, the beautiful mess of making art. And gel printing accessible on so many levels to so many different people who have no experience or no drawing experience. And it allows them, it opens up a possibility for creating things. And one thing I think is so important about it is that just about, with the exception maybe of a few pieces, almost everything you create on the gel plate, if you think it's a failure, it could always be created into something else. You could add more layers, you can cut it up, you can collage it, you can print on it again. And that type of creative thinking and building resiliency as an artist is incredibly important. When I just taught, the last unit I taught for my grade 8s before we just broke out for summer was gel plate printmaking. And I purposely kept that one as the last unit in the semester because one, they're eighth graders, and for them to clean the brayers and get acrylic paint, I'm bad enough with my brayers, keeping them clean, but having that many kids in the classroom with acrylic paint that could dry on brayers, I needed to establish like a few things. I could handle doing other things with printmaking. So we did linoleum, we did intaglio, dry point printmaking, we did other types of monotypes. So they learned the processes of the room. And then we did a big unit at the end on gel plate printmaking. It was also great to do it at the end because we had that sort of flexibility of time. We didn't have to worry, you just needed, okay, tomorrow's our last class. Okay, we're finishing. Whereas if you're doing a linoleum, it's more finite and you might not finish something in time, or if you finish too early. So it worked out great, but I had worked in knowing that I was teaching this unit at the end, that I wanted them to be as resilient as possible. So every unit we did, I had them turn in their 2 best prints and one of their failures that they tried to rescue, either by adding color pencil or watercolor or collage, something on it. And it gave them something to do when they were frustrated. They felt like they got a sense of, that they really did rescue something and turn something beautiful out of something that wasn't there. And I saw that by the time we got to the end of the unit, I didn't have to tell them. They were just rescuing things left and right. And it was so wonderful. And I think that's really what's so special about gel plate printmaking. Like I said, it's accessible for all levels, but you can really just build on what you create.
What is the role of the gel print community in your creative life? I know you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram, you're everywhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of taken off. I've had a big social media following before gel plate printmaking, just being an artist and art teacher, but certainly gel plate printmaking has made my community a lot larger. And I love it. One is I have so many connections to other people who were gel printing well before me, who helped, tell me little things before, like, wait, why is this happening? Oh, that's because you have a speedball plate. My first plate was a speedball plate, and I didn't read the directions. I was like, yeah, I like speedball. My favorite brayer is a speedball. Of course, I'm going to pick up a speedball one. I had no idea. And, I struggled because it's not made for acrylic paint, and it tore, and, junkie kid. It was the first one was like, is that it? And there were just so many other artists who fielded questions back and forth, and that's been lovely. But also, when I started teaching my online course, it's a platform where people can ask questions to me every day. And we have a community where other people can share. And I love that because I can just, if someone's taken the course, they have all my videos, they have all my explanations, but if something's not clear to them or if they have something specific, the other day someone finally got an image transfer done, and it was a beautiful portrait of her husband. And she sent me the original photo, the edited photo, and the image transfer print that she reverse painted. And it was beautiful. But I could see, she explained that there were some things that were not, where she wanted it to be. And I was I recorded a video response, a Loom recording, and gave her feedback. Took me 3 minutes to just look at it and say, oh, hey, you edited this in Snapseed. If you tried to do this, you could do that, and that would get rid of that. But this is really good. I really like how you do that. And I love that immediacy and being able to help people. That part is fantastic. I started teaching free workshops because of that. A lot of times, whenever I have time, I'm going to do one coming up soon. Free workshops where I just demonstrate some of the basics of gel plate printmaking with image transfer because so many people have the same questions. And
Hmm.
getting that foundation is just it's so frustrating when you're starting out. And if you just have someone to listen to, so if I could demonstrate and then they could say, "Oh, wait, how did you do that?" Or "What paint was that?" Or "Now I see without the time lapse just how quick or how slow you did something." Or I could explain when I'm putting the last layer on how much I'm pressing down, where some of those things, in the world of social media, I try to edit my videos so, I explain things clearly, but not every video is going to be, a full demonstration from beginning to end. You have to have some of those quicker videos or,
Hmm.
so I think having that sort of connection through those free workshops has really been a nice way to build the gel print community.
You've mentioned now a couple of times to kind of circle back to something, editing your photos. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because,
Sure.
it's really easy to just print something, take a picture, print it off, and slap it on a gel plate.
And I think, and I could be wrong on this because I only use one printer and it's not a great printer, but it is a color printer. It's a combo color copier printer from my school. And that printer, well, I've used other printers too, but I don't have like a fancy schmancy printer that I'm using. And I think a lot of people put the emphasis on oh, I need a better printer, when I think you need to be a better editor. Having a high resolution photo, and that means that you can't take a screenshot of something, because if you take a screenshot, it's only as big as that thing. You need to take a higher resolution photo. You can edit it on your phone. That's fine. You can just use the built-in app on your phone to make it high contrast. What high contrast means is that you want to have it black and white. And if you're just starting out, no midtones. So it should be all black and all white. If once you get the hang of that, then you can start playing around with midtones and more complex things. I also think it's helpful if you start out with a photo that if it doesn't all print, it's still going to look good. So maybe it's not a portrait of your husband, because if part of his face doesn't print, that's going to look creepy, But if you have like a pattern, I use a lot of photographs that I took in Lisbon, Portugal. They have all these beautiful tiles and they're beautiful patterns. And if a part of it doesn't come out, it just looks distressed. And I like it. So using that and printing it out, if you have access to a color printer, printing it out with the color settings for black and white. Because what happens is if you're just printing black and white, it just uses the black toner. But if you're using CMYK, the other colors that make it up, it's using the C, the M, the Y, the K, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, all to make the black. So it layers more toner in little dots on your paper. And that's what makes the image transfer work, because it's a resist process. The toner has little tiny bits and particles of plastic in it, and the plastic is repels the acrylic paint. So it soaks up into the printer paper every place that doesn't have toner, and stays on the gel plate every place that there is toner. And then, yeah, so editing is really key. If you have a small enough resolution, it's kind of like taking an extra small t-shirt and trying to put it on. You might be able to get it on, but it's not going to look pretty. There's just not enough fabric there. There's not enough material to work with. And you need that material to be tighter and more dense. If you don't have access to a color printer, using a black and white printer, and if it's still not coming out high enough density, you can try to change the settings. Charlene Loomis, ceramic mentioned this in some of her videos. It's fantastic. If you change your settings to transparency, it lays down more toner. So if you have that option on your printer, or make sure your printer's not on an eco mode, so it's saving toner. That's also very helpful. So looking for those small adjustments in your printer settings, but you could also try to run the printer paper through the printer twice, and that lays down more toner. So you print your image once, then you take that same paper and you load it in the same direction, which I am incapable of doing 90% of the time. I always turn it around. I'm dyslexic, so I've drawn maps, I've labeled things, and I still put it in the wrong way. I'm convinced that the printer just takes it wrong. But if you load it in, it will print the image on it, and most of the time it will register or line up pretty well. Occasionally, it might not, but I've had students who've said that they can do it with a crappy printer at home as long as they run it through 3 times. And, if that works, it's a lot cheaper than buying a fancier printer, which may not necessarily lay down more toner.
I never thought about editing.
Yeah, yeah.
I really never did. So let's do some rapid fire get to know Jessica questions. Ghost print or first pull?
Ooh, first pull.
Favorite color combo to print with?
Definitely cool colors with a little bit of like split complementary. So like blues with a little bit of like burnt sienna in there.
Nice. Brayer, brush, or fingers?
All of the above.
What's something weird you've printed with?
I don't know if I've ever printed with something weird. I can tell you a weird story that just happened to me the other day with my gel plate.
Okay.
I was in a fire drill with my 18 by 24-inch gel plate. So I didn't print with it, but I was walking around with it in a fire drill. I was picking it up from school because I usually leave it in my classroom. It's just easier, more space there. And we're on summer break, and I was picking it up, and all of a sudden it wasn't a fire drill. It was like actual, I mean, there wasn't a fire, but the fire alarms went off, and I was like, gotta go out. Let me bring my gel plate. So what I grabbed was my gel plate. I left my laptop, but I brought my gel plate.
Well, that thick one, I can see why.
Yeah.
Studio must have coffee, tea, water, music, wine,
Tea,
hot or cold.
hot.
All right. So, what are you currently exploring or what are you excited about right now?
I've been incorporating more collage into my image transfers and doing both reverse painting and then collaging in some elements into it. And that's been really interesting. I went to Vietnam over Christmas break for 3 weeks, and I shot a lot of photos. I probably have enough photos to only do Vietnam for the next 5 years. There's just a ton of things that I found so beautiful about the country, about the people, and I really want to capture that in my work. And by layering some of these collage elements behind certain street scenes has been really interesting. And I'm still playing around with this. It's like when you have a word on the tip of your tongue. I know where it's going, but I can't quite explain it yet. And I had a one that I did the other day that I kind of got close to it. I was like, okay, this is where it's going. This I can see, and it's a little bit more of that fusing of different layers together, but there's still a heavy emphasis on the reverse painting. And also just figuring out which photos work best for that kind of treatment.
Oh, I can't wait to see this on your socials.
Thank you.
So, any advice you'd share with someone who's just starting out?
Yes. So if you're doing image transfer specifically, I would say these are the fundamental things. One, editing your photos. Two, getting the layer of paint on your gel plate the right consistency. I see a lot of people and hear a lot of people where their brayer is almost skidding on the gel plate. And you should have a very thin layer. I usually in my free workshops, I'm constantly holding up my gel plate to the camera, putting my hand underneath it. If it's in the light, you should be able to see the silhouette of your hand underneath it. In my book, I was able to get a good picture so you can kind of see just how thin the paint is. Then you put down your photo face down. You can use your hands for a gentle touch, or if you use the brayer, you shouldn't be brayering in the same place over and over again. think a little bit more systematically, like one roll, don't overlap, go next roll. I go up one way and then across the other way, and then I wait like 2 seconds and then I lift. If it's not, start lifting slowly. If it's not working, put it back down. If the paint is still on the gel plate where it shouldn't be, put it back down, press a little bit more, wait a little bit more, but not too long that the paint starts to dry. And those, like just getting those variables, the well-edited photo, layer of paint, and the timing, and adjusting those to, all of those also depend on the humidity in your room, if it's a rainy day and stuff like that too. And just trying to get the right consistency of all of those things together.
I run the Gel Print Enthusiast group on Facebook, and one of the questions I asked to get in the group, well, I asked if you're a beginner or experienced gel printer, just so I know how to guide the group. And then I asked, what do you want to get from the group? And I would say by far the majority of the people that come into the group are total beginners who want to do image transfers.
Yes, yes. So I have two courses.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
The beginner one is it's not just for beginners, it's for people who want to learn how to use the plate more effectively. I call it a beginner one because it is open for beginners. And I tell people who are signing up, it's not only image transfers, there's modules where I have a whole module on editing, I have a whole module on getting the image transfer down and reverse painting and all of those things. I do have that, but I start off with the basics. I start off with stencils and textures and layering and transparency of paint. And I've had a couple people who are like, I thought this was all going to be image transfer. I'm like, it is, because you have to understand how the paint works on the plate first before you can do that. You can't run the marathon without learning how to walk. And we're taking some baby steps in the beginning, but we're going to get running soon. But you have to understand how to understand, are you doing a quick print? Are you lifting it up wet? How many layers can you press? Are you using Bristol or a thinner paper? If you're using tea bag paper, maybe that won't work for what you need to do there. And understanding how all of those things come together. So the first, I think, 3 modules are all learning about how to use the plate better. And then we get into image transfers and also collaging on the plate and all these things. Plus we do, I say we, I'm talking because we're a community. It's only me teaching it, but we get into rescuing our failures. I have a whole thing on magazine image transfers. They are so unpredictable and you never know whether they're going to go well or not. So what can you do when they don't go well? And I think that's an important thing that I try to bring through the course is that I'm not teaching you, okay, put blue here. Everyone got blue there? Great. Now we're going to put green here. Okay, everyone has that? I'm not teaching that. I'm teaching you how the paint works so you can become a better artist, so you can understand why things are happening certain ways, so you can troubleshoot your way around your studio space or your countertop or whatever surface you carved out for that little bit of time for yourself. So you have that. And then I just launched my intermediate course called Beyond the Basics. And that one I do a lot more with my bigger plate, even though I have the 16 by 20 and the 18 by 24 Gelli Arts plate. You don't need the bigger plates for it, but it's easier for me to sometimes express bigger ideas on a bigger plate. So I do that. I also show a lot more collaging on the plate, go into a lot more detail on color theory, how to work with paint in different ways, why I chose to do certain things in certain ways. And so trying to express a little bit more, the next steps of all of it. So the second one is definitely a lot more image transfer focused.
So tell me your social media links, where people can find you and where people can find out about these courses.
Sure. So my handle on just about everything is Blue Lava Art. But if you Google my name, you will find me. Well, Googleable, I guess you can find me. And the registration for the course is not always open, but if you DM me, I can make sure you're on the list. I'm also starting a newsletter that just launched. That's where like the first announcements of when I'll open up registrations again. And I'm also sharing little tips and tricks and things on there, some behind the scenes of what's going on, and sharing things, little things like I just got this new paint. It's Ara acrylic. And I am loving this for image transfers, so like things like that I'll put in the newsletter, like, hey, I just tried this and, not sponsored, just, these are things, these are things that work for me. And I'd like to share it out.
So to get on your mailing list, they just go to your website?
Yeah, they can go to my website. There's a contact thing on the website, or if you click on my bio on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, or YouTube, there's a wait list for the courses, and that'll put you on the mailing list. And yeah, if any of that is confusing to you, you can just send me a DM through any of my social media or contact on my website. I'd be happy to put you on the list.
Well, I'll have all the links in the show notes for people who read show notes. So all they have to do is click to find you. And I'm looking forward to your book coming out. We'll have to have you back when your book comes out.
Definitely. I'm very excited.
I bet you are. I bet you are. I mean, I'm just writing a PDF and I'm excited.
Well, that's fantastic too.
Got to have somewhere to get people on my list. So
certainly. Well, you have a lot of people on your list. What a wonderful community of people who have, I think that's absolutely amazing. And when you talk about gel plate community of people, the amount of people who are sharing and asking questions, and the number of people who respond with lengthy replies, just wanting to share their experience. It's beautiful.
It is. It really is. The art community. I'm a mixed media artist as well, and the art community can be very loving and very generous. So, okay, Jessica, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank you for having me on. I think this is a wonderful experience, and it's always nice to have some time to reflect and think about your own practice as well.
Good, good. So everybody check out the show notes. Check out Jessica on her website and on Instagram, TikTok, and she's got art for sale. You didn't mention that.
That too. And anything you don't see on my for sale stuff, you just send me a DM. I've been so busy teaching my courses, I haven't uploaded the other stuff for sale recently.
That's a good problem to have. I've been so busy teaching that.
Yes.
Okay. So I sincerely hope we'll see you back when the book comes out.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Brayer. If you enjoyed it, and if you think others might too, please leave a review over at podchaser.com or Apple Podcasts. If you've got any questions about gel printing, please join the Gel Print Enthusiasts Facebook group or email podcast@beyondthebrayer.com. I'd love to hear from you. Join us again next week for another interview with a popular gel print artist. Until next time, keep that brayer rolling.